Big Ed here. Today I'm bringing you choke tubes explained. A choke tube is a little device, a sleeve that is inserted at the end of a barrel of a shotgun. It allows you to control the spread of pellets coming out of that shotgun. So let's start off with your three basic choke tubes. You have a cylinder, which keeps the barrel of the shotgun at the same diameter all the way through, including coming out the end. You have a modified, which brings the diameter down a little bit, which will keep your pattern a little tighter downfield. And then you have a full choke, which will keep it the tightest down range. You also now have, as time goes on, many different variations of choke tubes. Just a few off the top of my head. You'll start with a cylinder, then you'll move into a skeet 1, which will just bring it just a touch tighter, then a skeet 2, a little tighter. Then you'll move into a modified, a little tighter, and improved modified, a little tighter, then a full choke. Then you can have a super full choke, like a turkey choke, which brings it even tighter. Also, if you want to shoot a slug out of this, like a smooth slug, you can get rifle choke tubes, which you can screw in the end of your barrel, and they'll put a little spin. You'll have a little rifling just at that last 2 inches of barrel, and they'll just put a little spin on that slug and just give you a little more accuracy with a slug. So the different kinds of choke tubes you can buy is the one inserted in this shotgun. You can see it's flush with the end of the barrel. And you can see these front notches, and that's for a little wrench right there. And that will allow you to put a wrench in there and unscrew and screw new choke tubes. And that choke tube looks like this. And this one right here is a Remington Improved Skeet. So this is going to be probably like 1/100th of an inch tighter than a cylinder choke. But that's it right there, and that's a choke tube, and that's a flush mounted one. And you can see you put a little wrench in the end, and it'll just unscrew, and it just has threads there, and it threads into the inside of a shotgun barrel. Those are great. There's nothing wrong with those. But one that's a little bit of an improvement would be this extra full turkey choke right there. And if you can see, there's your threaded end, and then you have this funny knurled end at the end. And the deal between this is, if you can see right there, that will stop when you screw that into the end of the barrel of your shotgun and basically protrude from the end. The good thing about that, you don't need a wrench to change it. You just change it with your fingers. You just screw it and unscrew it. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of guys, I have a fancy Browning Satori, and it's got these, extended choke tubes. So when I go shooting with the thing, I can just pull up the skeet ones or the cylinder ones, then I can put in some modified ones to do my duck hunting. And these are nicer. They cost a little bit more, but they are nicer to have. So let's talk about the different kinds of chokes and what you use them for. We're going to just deal with bird hunting right now, because probably the most popular use for shotguns is going to be bird hunting. So we'll start off with shooting something small. Let's say we'll put rabbits in the same category as like a quail or a pheasant of some sort. So odds are you're going to be in the woods, you're going to be walking, you're going to be driving down through some dirt road, or walking through a grassy field with some tall grass, and you're going to be able to get close to these animals before you spook them and they jump up and they fly away really quickly. So you're going to be close and they're going to be moving quickly, which means you're going to want your pattern to be as wide as possible, and you're going to be shooting very small pellets to keep a lot of coverage in that pattern. So you're going to want a cylinder bore choke or a skeet choke of some sort to keep that pattern open up quickly to give you the best chance of hitting your target. Also, since you don't need to hit the target that hard, those birds come down, quail and dove and rabbits come down easily without a lot of power. Second, let's move to a duck. If you're duck hunting, ducks are definitely tougher animals. You're going to have to hit them harder than you do a quail or some sort of a woodsy bird. They have a lot of thick fat on them to keep them warm in the winter months and water out here. And they also have a much thicker coverage of feathers on them, which just makes them tougher. You have to hit them harder. So the first thing you have to do with a duck is you're gonna have to use larger BBs. Instead of shooting it with like a 7 or a 6 or somewhere in that with a lead pellet, you're gonna have to step up to at least a number 4 shot or a number 2 shot out of a shotgun. Maybe even some large ducks, a BB. The other thing with a duck is you're not going to be at close range. Very rarely do you get a good close shot at a duck. Most of the time you're looking at them from far away, and if you're lucky, they're going to fly into you and you're going to call them in and use decoys to get them close. And the best shot is when the duck's wings are up in the air and it's coming in right at you. So you're going to need a little bit more range and a little bit more knockdown power. Therefore, I would use a modified choke or an improved modified choke, something in that nature, which will constrict your pattern a little bit and allow you to shoot the gun farther and keep more pellets on target. You won't get as wide of a pattern. You're going to have to be a little more accurate with your shotgun, but it will give you a little more killing power a little farther away. So then let's go to goose hunting. Geese, basically, for most of the time, you're going to be shooting at geese straight over your head when they're the closest to you, or sometimes you get them landing on the ground. But usually geese, you're shooting at a long range, or a turkey. Little different kind of a hunting, because usually when you're turkey hunting, they're on the ground. But let's get back to geese. So when you're shooting a goose, they're far away, so you're going to want to use like a BB, a large steel shot, because they're waterfowl. You have to use steel shot. I think pretty much all 50 states now, and they're far away. So you're going to want to, and geese are tough. They're going to need a lot of power to bring them down. So you're going to want to keep your pattern really tight and get a lot of pellets on target, big pellets, deliver a lot of energy to the target. So you're going to want to use a full choke, or definitely an improved modified choke, something to constrict that pattern. Also, when you turkey hunt, as you saw this choke of mine that I had, turkeys, you always want to roast a turkey. That's what most people want to do, and have a big turkey on a plate, which means you don't want the body of the turkey filled up with pellets. You don't want to destroy all that beautiful white breast meat. So what you want to do is hunt them with a full choke, call them into you, and you basically want to try to shoot their heads off. And so, which means you want the tightest, fullest choke you can get. And you want to shoot lead shot at them, and technically you don't really, because a turkey's head is small and it doesn't have any armor on it, doesn't have fat or lots of feathers or anything like that, so you can get away with a number 5 or a 6 shot, and then you run a higher payload, so your spread will be really tight and it will be very dense with pellets, so you should be able to knock that turkey's head right off. So that's why you want to use an extra full choke, and it will also give you range. So that basically covers bird hunting right there. And there's many variations. I'm not going to go into every, for small ducks, you got to, shoot it with this kind of a choke, but that's the basic summary right there. So let's go ahead and talk about shooting mammals, 4-legged mammals, like things like deer, things like elk, black bear, grizzly bears. So a shotgun, being the most versatile weapon you can own, has the ability also to shoot slugs out of it. A slug will go, a lead slug will go out of any choke tube. It'll go out of a cylinder choke, a full choke. I've always found slugs to be a little more accurate, kind of out of a full choke, a modified choke, but every gun is different. But I was just shooting slugs out of a shotgun a week ago, and that's what, we had great results out of I think it was a improved modified, or I think it was an improved modified choke. You can also get a rifle choke tube for shotguns, and so that little choke tube will have rifling in it, and add a little spin to it, because as you folks know, when you spin a solid projectile, it gives it accuracy, and it's not just going to wobble all over the place and who knows where it's going to end up landing. The slugs I was shooting last weekend were Remington, and they were rifled slugs, so they had the rifling built into the slug, and we were shooting them at a good distance. We could hear them humming through the air, so that means they're spinning, and as the air was passing over the rifling of the slug, we could hear it, which was definitely pretty neat. So let's go ahead to a home defense situation, or any sort of a situation like that where you're going to load the shotgun with buckshot or a slug. I would say you're going to want to stick with a cylinder or a skeet choke tube. You're looking at something that's close range. Odds are you're not going to be taking 40 and 50 and 60-yard shots. It's going to be inside of a home, maybe on your property, but a cylinder choke tube where that pattern is going to open up as quickly as possible is probably your best scenario. In most home defense shotguns, you'll see that'll come with an 18-inch barrel, are going to be a cylinder choke, or else they won't have a barrel that will accept a screw and choke tube. It'll be an 18-inch barrel with a bead front side on it, and that's it, and you won't have the ability to take a choke, and those will be a cylinder bore. Interesting way to look at a shotgun, and rifles are like this too. I don't know if you can read this, but if you can see the writing on here, it says 3.5 inch or 3-inch shells, but the 3.5 will only shoot with the Super Magnum receiver. And this gun right here just takes 3s. That's fine with me. I don't need to shoot a 3.5-inch shell out of a shotgun like this. So the last thing I want to cover is shooting steel shot through a shotgun. That's a little different. Lead shot is obviously the best thing to shoot through a shotgun because lead is softer than a steel barrel or a steel choke tube, so it can deform a little bit, so you're able to squeeze it down a little bit and it won't destroy your barrel. So that what gives you the ability to shoot a buckshot or like a number 2 or a BB or something like that that's lead, or a slug out of a full choke tube, and it's absolutely fine. It's not going to hurt it. But if you go ahead and shoot a number 2 pellet or a BBs out of a 3-inch mag out of a gun with a full choke tube and it's a steel shot over waterfowl, you're probably going to blow off the end of your shotgun barrel, and it's not going to be pretty, and it'll probably create a very dangerous situation. Usually the rule I used to follow was, I grew up hunting waterfowl with my Remington 1100 and my Smith & Wesson Model 1000. Those guns were old. They were my father's guns. They did not have barrels that had the removable choke tube, which really hindered performance and really handicapped my ability to hunt waterfowl, because I could only shoot safely, and I didn't want to destroy those guns since they were my father's, number 4 steel shot through them. Everything I read and everybody I talked to said do not shoot number 2 steel shot, which is really preferred for a goose or a duck over the water. Said do not shoot it through there, that we will destroy the end of your shotgun. But that you could bring your barrel to a gunsmith and they could ream it out and make the shotgun larger, which I did not want to do because they were my father's guns and I did not want to destroy them or modify them. But there's many other rules, but that's something to pay attention to when you're running steel shot. But if you go ahead and you're duck hunting, you could put a good modified or improved modified choke in there, and you can shoot BBs or number 2s out of it all day long, and it's absolutely fine. I believe the modified choke is in here right now. It was last time I shot this gun, I was duck hunting, and I was shooting everything through this, and it ran just fine without a problem. The other thing I want to make note about choke tubes is most of them are rated for steel and lead shot. Every once in a while there are choke tubes that aren't rated for steel shot. So just look at the packaging before you buy one and make sure it's rated for steel shot if you're hunting anything over the water. And when you hunt over the water, you have to use non-toxic shot, which is either steel or the other thing. So if I have some, it's in the back of this bandolier, or some sort of a bismuth, the heavier than lead stuff, which is really expensive. Those are wonderful shot shells. So the other thing you can do with a shotgun that's quite nice is, this is just a regular 28-inch barrel, that's threaded. And let me add quickly, always make sure you have a choke tube and a barrel that has threads at the end, because you don't want to shoot, even if you think, oh, I don't need to buy a cylinder choke, the barrel's already cylinder, obviously. You always want to make sure that you have a choke tube in there, because you don't want to destroy the threads in the end of your barrel, and that's what it's in there, and the things thread in and out of your barrel. And especially with steel shot, you will just rip those things out and create, the end of a shotgun barrel that's a mess, and will probably end up sending your pattern scattering all down range, which isn't optimal. So folks, let me add something else to this, is a shotgun is by far the most versatile weapon you can own. If you don't have one, this is a great example right here. Over Thanksgiving weekend, these Remington 870s, I saw them on sale for I think it was $270 at Dick's Sporting Goods and online. These are probably, out of any gun I've ever shot, this is probably the best bang for a buck for any firearm, period, that you can buy. The only downside is this, they're tough to conceal. But you can do anything with this shotgun, from hunting a little rabbit to shooting a grizzly bear or a polar bear or elk, and anything in between that, any game animal. You can use them for home defense. You can use them to knock clay pigeons out of the air and have a lot of fun with them. So they are the most versatile weapon you can buy. And you can get different barrels for these things. So, you can get a 30-inch, a 32-inch barrel for these, give you a little more range on geese. If you're deer hunting, you can get an 18-inch tube or a 20 or 22-inch tube for these and put your choke. You can also get them fully rifled for slugs that'll definitely increase your accuracy, and then you shoot those saboted slugs through these things, and will give you extended range and extended accuracy with these things. But folks, that's it right there, explaining choke tubes. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Definitely, I'll post them below, and I'll get back to you. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and keep an eye out. I'm gonna have more videos coming for you folks. I'm gonna try to get one up every Saturday morning. Thanks for watching, folks.